Have you ever been in your car with the air conditioning running, everything is working flawlessly, it's freezing cold, feels great, and then bam, all of a sudden your air conditioning gets hot and musty and humid? Well, that is exactly what has been happening to me in my car. I drive a 2005 GMC Envoy. The thing only has 40,000 original miles, but it is starting to show its age. There have been a few things here and there that I have had to fix that seem to be failing just due to the vehicle's age. And I think I know exactly what's going on this time. Now, of course, there are various reasons why your air conditioning could be failing. You could have a very inefficiently functioning or a non-functioning compressor altogether. You could have a leak somewhere and all of your refrigerant has leaked out. But in this case, I really think that it's none of those reasons, and it all boils down to a small $30 part. When the air conditioning is on in this car, it works phenomenally well. It is extremely cold. I have no noises or issues with the air conditioning compressor, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue and completely randomly, the compressor seems to kick off, causing the entire system to stop being cold, but that fan is still going in the car, and now it's blowing hot, musty, humid air. Now, just why would that happen all of a sudden and completely at random? I think it's because of this pressure switch located right here. Here is the new pressure switch, and if you're curious about it, I'll put a link down in the description below. It is exactly like the original one in the car now. I chose to buy a genuine GM part, but there are aftermarket parts available for a little bit cheaper. So what exactly do these pressure switches do? Well, it's in the name. It monitors the pressure of the refrigerant in the system. And there's usually two. You'll have one on the low pressure side and one on the high pressure side. So the whole purpose here is to monitor the refrigerant pressure. If the pressure is too low, it shuts the compressor down. If the pressure is too high, it shuts the compressor down. So you can imagine if one of these starts to malfunction, you might see exactly what I'm seeing now. An air conditioning system that seems to work perfectly fine until at complete random, it shuts off. So how do you go about changing one of these out? You can see there's just a simple plug. We're gonna unplug that. And then by looking at the new part here, you can see there's simply threads. You just screw it right on. And don't worry, you're not gonna lose much refrigerant because there is a Schrader valve in here that stops the flow. So the first thing I'll do is unplug this plug. And now we can simply unscrew the old one. Using this 16mm wrench, I was able to break it loose, and now I can twist it off by hand, and there you have it. There's the old one right there. There was a very tiny amount of refrigerant that spurted out. That's not a big deal. We'll go ahead and wipe that down, and we'll also remove this O-ring and replace it. And there is the new O-ring. With our new pressure switch installed, I'm gonna go ahead and plug in the original plug. And the install is now finished. All right, so the vehicle is running, and all we have to do now is turn on the air conditioning. It is on all the way cold, and I can tell you right now that the air coming out of these vents is really, really cold. So that's a good sign. And if we look deep down inside at the air conditioning compressor, we can see that the clutch is indeed pulled in and that the compressor is working. I can also see and hear that the cooling fan is engaged, but realistically, like I was saying before, this vehicle does not have a problem with the air conditioning until it has a problem. Everything seems to be working exactly like it should, and that's not a surprise being that it did before. The real test is going to come through time with this vehicle and driving it with the air conditioning on. That's going to be the only way I'll be able to tell if this random shut-off hot musty air issue is still there. And if by chance it is still there, my next step is going to be to replace the pressure switch on the high pressure side, which is located a little deeper into the engine, pretty much on top of that air conditioning compressor. So for now, I just need to drive this vehicle as much as I can to see if the problem persists. Well, there goes my wife again, driving the Envoy. And I have to say, it has been several weeks since I made this repair. Let's call it 3 or possibly even 4. And I'm happy to report that we have not seen that issue since. However, to be completely transparent, the weather also hasn't been as bad as it was when I was having the problem. That being said, we still have been using the AC every single time we're in the car, and we have not experienced that random compressor shutoff issue at all. So is it fixed? I would say so. This was definitely a very simple repair. The part was cheap, even though it was an OEM part. And the only thing I had to do to replace it was to simply unplug it and screw the new one on. And when something is that common of a failure point, and it's that cheap and that easy to replace, why not do it? If you follow my channel, you'll know there's a recurring trend here. I am very pro preventative maintenance. With each one of our vehicles having potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of copies of them on the road, we can start to see what are common problems. What are common failure points? And when we have those trends and common failure points, we can address them before they become problems on our vehicles. By doing that, you potentially save yourself from breaking down out on the road and having to call a tow truck. And no one wants to do that. Well, hey, if you've come this far in the video and you haven't yet hit that thumbs up, what are you waiting for? And also, if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Well, for one road and this 2005 GMC Envoy that has now been repaired, we will see you in the next one.